Hello there, Sir from 17 once again, bringing you the next section in my God of War 3 Chaos Difficulty video walkthrough. And right now, this room is the hardest part of the game, in my opinion. And the reason why it's hard is because you have to now fight in this really small room a consecutive wave of enemies. And just when you think it's about to end, because you don't have the life for another wave of enemies, another wave's gonna turn up. And there's no checkpoints in this fight, people, so you have to pretty much flawlessly do every section of this, because if you don't, you're gonna fuck up and you're gonna get killed. And it's really frustrating and it's really annoying because it's a mixture of enemies that can cheese you just as easily as they can. And it's just awful. And it starts off with these sirens. And what happens is when you kill one of the sirens, you're going to spawn a couple of the guys with the shields, the Onks shields. And it's not that they're a problem as far as being hard to kill. The real problem comes from the fact that the sirens are flying around and the sirens can actually stun you and stop you from being able to move. Also, if the lock-on fucks you, you'll attack one of these guys with the shield and it'll parry you and you'll get hit by somebody else. And you're just always losing life in really silly ways. So my strategy for this first area is to just use the camera so that I don't get hit off screen and focus on stripping away all the little enemies and then gradually going back to the sirens and then finishing them off. And if you see her up in the sky like that, she's going to do that big energy wave. And she does a little scream before she does it, but if she hits you with it, it will stun you. And you'll have to waggle the analog to get Kratos back to being controllable, and it's a fucking nuisance, so be real careful. And you'll notice that I don't do the grab move to the sirens sometimes. I just kill them the old-fashioned way, because when I was doing that move, it wasn't helping, it wasn't damaging any of the other enemies, so I was making sure that I killed them with my combos and trying to get as much splash damage as I could. But a really good way of killing the sirens, which I didn't think to use in this fight, and I did know of it because I've used it before, is to fight them how I fight the wraiths, by spamming the air grab. And what you can do is, if you hold triangle, you can knock the sirens up into the air, and then if you jump with them and press circle, you can keep throwing them into the ground, and you are effectively safe and out of the zone. But I was on this fight for about 3 hours and it's just annoying as fuck, so I was just going nuts. And one big problem in this section as well is the wraiths, because did you see how that guy just did his little pivot and his turn before he threw his blades, but I stopped him? They can do that to you off screen, and the blades will reach a good 20 feet, and if you get hit by the first hit, you'll get hit by all of them. And a full combo of that throwing move that they do with that projectile is going to strip maybe 2/3 of your life. So the best thing to do is to get as much distance between you and the big group of enemies as you can, and kill them one at a time like I'm doing. Because what will happen during this fight is Pandora's going to distract the enemies for you, and she's fantastic at doing it, but sometimes she'll run towards you and they'll follow, and it can get a bit like a clusterfuck. And you'll notice every time the row of enemies come with the shields, I'm using the magic with the Nemean sisters, and the reason for that is because if it goes out in a line in front of you, it's like a concussive wave that goes out directly ahead of Kratos' body. And I'm using it to destroy all the shields on the enemies, and even if it doesn't kill the enemies, it almost guarantees all the shields will be gone. And as you can see, the Minotaurs have turned up and I'm just spamming the magic because I've fought the Minotaurs perfectly by just using combos and then died after them, and on this run I was just at the point where I didn't want to die, I didn't want to fuck up, so I spammed my magic and I got rid of one of them. But I think there's still one of the Minotaurs going after Pandora. And a good strategy for the Minotaurs is the square square triangle move that you see me do to bounce them. But you can also now use your Nemesis whip, and if you press triangle you'll knock them into the air and you can try juggling them. The only problem when you juggle is you are vulnerable to the sirens because they can sneak up on you, but if you've killed them already you won't have any problems. But I kill that siren and it spawns another bunch of the shield dudes, and you notice I'm staying up to the left of the camera and I'm letting them come to me. The reason for that is I want them to come at me, I just don't want all of them to come for me. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. And I noticed that she's run over there, so the Minotaur's on screen, and when he's on screen he has the possibility of seeing me, and I don't want him to do that. So I'm staying off screen, I'm cheesing him with my moves, I'm hoping he doesn't get that really quick strike off on me and do a ton of damage, and I'm just trying to juggle him. But look at this fucking camera. The closer you get to the camera, the more useless it is. It just doesn't do anything, and it's so frustrating because it limits where you can go in this room and fight effectively. And I'm not a fan at all of that. I think it's cheap, and I think it's unfair. But if you can execute the Minotaurs like I just did then, it will give you a little bit of life, which does come in handy. But bear in mind, once the Minotaur wave is down, you're going to get another couple Wraiths and another couple Sirens. And you're going to see me focus on this Wraith now, and I'm hopefully going to try and throw him off camera, see, when we're moving towards this corner, because if you're in a corner, you're a lot safer than you are in the middle of that room. And now I've isolated him, there's nothing he can do. And I'm effectively cheesing him, and I love it. But always be aware, look, she's looking at me now. I know she's going to do the big wave because she's in the air, and I shoot her with the bow to fuck her up, and then I probably air grab her, or do the L1 and circle to grab her out of the air. But they're both in the sky, and I can just so easily get stunned by that stupid siren song they do. And there she is, she's down, and now I can bounce her with my chains. I notice that one up there, I move away from it, and there's a couple shield guys that are trying to attack Pandora, but they're not in a big number, so you're not going to get tagged by accident. So just take your time, stay away from everything, try and single them out if you can, and if you see any circles above heads, make sure you do it because it will help you. And just try to not get careless, cause the only reason this fight is difficult is because it's about 8 minutes long. And it's 8 minutes of a fight where you can be going brilliant for 5 minutes and 3 hits can fuck up your run because you got lazy. But there's a couple shield guys, I'm not going to mess about, I use the magic to drop them, and there's going to be another Minotaur spawning soon, and when the one Minotaur spawns on his own, it means that you're coming to the end of the waves. But there's still Sirens left alive, so we've got to attack them, and there's a Legionnaire to my left, but he's no threat because he's too busy looking at Pandora, so I'm just going to smash that bitch's face into the floor and just carry on bullying her. And did you see how she did that little turn then, that little, like, you know, the L'Oreal advert where the woman flicks her hair a little bit? When the Sirens do that, they'll do a pounce attack where she dashes at you and she claws, and it's very fast and very damaging, so sometimes you can't interrupt it, but I got lucky then and I did. But never rely on that. Always either block or evade. But now we've got a couple more shield guys. If you have any magic, use the Nemean Sisters to get rid of them as quickly as you can. If you don't, just make sure you don't get too close to the Sirens and punch them with the gauntlets. And be careful of that shield butt that they do, because they're arseholes, the shield ones. I hate them. In fact, if there was none of the shield guys on this entire fight, this would not be challenging at all. It's just because there's the Sirens that can immobilize you and the shield guys that can rush you and parry you. But I don't know if you noticed just then, but the Minotaur spawned. He's going for Pandora, and oh no, he's charging for me now, and he got me, the bastard. But I managed to knock him away with the cestus, and he's charging again. You can block the charge, and once he does the thrust upwards, you can beat him up. But just be careful, because he's very fast, and because he's armoured, he's a little tougher than the other ones. But block his moves, hit him with your best combo. I've accidentally changed weapons like I always do. I'm back on the blades now, because I don't like the Hades claws at all. And I'm using this opportunity to catch my breath and fire a couple of arrows at him. And you'll notice now, I've got my block up constantly, because I don't know where the enemies are. Look at this camera. I am at no advantage here, I am at full disadvantage, because I could move forward, get hit once, and all this run could have been failed. The last 9 minutes could have been wasted. And believe you me, there were runs that happened, and I got so fucking mad, it was unbelievable. But just keep whittling them down, killing what you can. And as you can see, I'm trying to use my bow to tell me where they are. There's a shield guy coming towards me. You have to watch them, because they're not a difficult enemy, but the lance has a lot of range on it, and the shield makes it so you can only use one weapon against them. But it's the Minotaur, and a Wraith's just spawned, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on him. There's another one to my right, so just situational awareness. It's just like playing Call of Duty or any other game. You need to always know what's around you, always know where the next threat is. And you see, I don't want to lose now, so I'm like, fuck this. I go into the Rage of Sparta, I get the execution off on the Minotaur, and I know now, as long as I don't get careless with the Wraiths, I've pretty much done this section. but believe you me, you can easily get careless with wraiths because they're just cheeky and they're cheesy. But I'm not taking any risks with this fella. I'm throwing him in the air, I'm jumping with him, I'm smashing him, I'm doing a backbreaker on him, wrestling style, and I'm just repeating it. And you might be sitting there thinking, well, this is boring. It's like, do it yourself. Unless you're some fucking god of war, this bit is ridiculously challenging, and you can look as stylish as you want. You can land and get punched once and it's game over. So I'm doing the most fastest, effective and easiest strategies for anybody to be able to follow and hopefully overcome the challenging aspects of this game. And when that one's down, you get the little chime telling us that this shit is epic, and it is epic because we've just got a siren left, and when she dies this section is over and you never have to face it ever again. Unless your PlayStation 3 crashes, and that would be tragic. So there you go, one of the hardest sections of the game has just been beaten, one step closer to the end, and once that's been done you have to mess with the switch so that Pandora can step on the pressure pad, and we can hopefully get the hell out of this labyrinth. But yeah, that fight is challenging. It's really difficult. And there's a fight coming up with a Cerberus and 2 satyrs. 3 satyrs if you're unlucky. And a lot of people think that's the hardest fight on the game. And don't get me wrong, that fight is a pain in the ass. But I think this one is harder. The main reason for it is because this one is longer. Sure, the enemies aren't as difficult as the ones you're going to be facing in the next one, but there are a hell of a lot less enemies in this fight that's coming up. So that's the reason why I say that right there is the hardest part of the game. So now that we've had a nice little scale of Daedalus, this lift is going to take us upwards with Pandora in the little cage, and we are now effectively on top of the labyrinth. And there's a save point on top of the labyrinth. There's also a ton of cheeky chests that you can use the head of Helios to uncover. So I would definitely implore you to run around and find all the chests. You're probably going to see me do it because I think I get 3 or 4, which is pretty much all of them. And just make sure you save because there's a there's a flying section coming up, and it's not cool. It really isn't cool because it's pretty long. There's hardly any checkpoints, and I think you can take 3 hits. So you die super quick, and directly after it is that fight I just mentioned with the Minotaur, not the Minotaur, sorry, with the Hell Cerberus and the satyrs. So it's kind of hell and high water this moment of the game, and it is quite easily the most difficult stretch of this game on Chaos difficulty. And I knew it would be. I really did. I did not think that fight in the labyrinth would have been as hard as it was, because in all honesty I'd forgot it, but the fight coming up I knew was going to be a bastard, because on Titan difficulty it wasn't hard, and I don't think I died on it, but as soon as the satyr turned up I knew it were like, this is going to be a bullshit fight on hardest difficulty, because they're absolute arseholes, they really are. They're crafty, they're high damage, they're elusive, they've got a lot of life, and they're one of the only enemies where you're not safe when you're throwing them. And it culminates in a very difficult fight. But you're going to see that in the next video, guys, so I hope this one helped. I really do, because this is a fucking tough level, but thanks for watching my videos, thanks for checking out my channel, keep supporting me as much as you can, you're all champions, and you take care now.